Ugandan.
Huh?
Ugandan.
Was it Uganda? Oh, I'm wrong. As usual.
He said not listening to you, so.
Yeah, don't listen to
Yeah.
what I
I
said.
realize I've seen them on YouTube when they're praying,
Uh-huh.
have the same one, the same design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I bought one years ago. I don't know. I'm very seldom, I just started wearing it again.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I like it.
But, and my talit that I have, I had to, keep off it for a long way, but I can't find it to keep off. I don't know what I did with it.
Hmm.
So, you know,
Did you move?
no, no,
I think that's,
Oh,
my wife got it in my bed, clean.
that's Samantha.
That sounds
Yeah, and so it's missing.
Is that Sam? Is that Sam?
Sam? I think.
You think?
I think. Man,
One of our-
I didn't see her, so that's.
One of our classmates?
You check.
No, it's okay.
He'll be here shortly.
So we have another couple coming in today. I think they're Israeli. I don't know if both of them are. I think they might
This
be.
book. Max and Sam.
Yeah, I thought so. There they are.
Don't you know all women are beautiful?
This is true.
I will say yes. I'll say yes right now.
You're always snazzy looking. You always, t-shirts very nice.
I try. I try. Also, like I was reading last night, like, well, because I grew up with the discipline of dressing up for when I was at church and stuff, so it's a discipline. And I like,
It is, long time no see. How are you?
hi.
How are you?
Man, how are you? Good morning.
Listen,
I'll be seeing you again on the next week sometime.
Awesome, yes, I didn't know your last name, so my nephew comes to me and I said, oh, yes, yes. It took me a second.
Okay. Thank you.
Did y'all lose power last night? Anybody lose power?
You know, I don't think we did.
We did here.
Traffic lights are flashing.
The stoplight out in our neighborhood is still
Verizon went out.
flashing.
Oh, really?
But people are really good at it, you're supposed to treat it as a four-way stop.
But people don't do that.
If it's flashing red, yes, flashing yellow.
No, it's flashing red.
Yeah, that's right. And people don't get this.
of course,
Saw this?
the more women
Yes, I
encourage,
remember that.
Yeah.
the more spiritual.
Yeah, it went out here. I heard a big crash
occasion, this temperature, this.
Probably my wife, she dresses me way too expensive. I'm like, no. I'm way too comfortable in my.
Well, she just wants the best for you. She
It's
wants
true.
the best for her man.
It's true.
She's gonna take care of you.
Unless you've been married 50 years like me, and then it's time to be stupid.
Or you need to advocate for us.
Got a lot of little more.
All right, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Agudath, Israel. Etz Ahayem Synagogue here in Montgomery, Alabama. I am Rabbi Scott Kramer. Welcome to our Shabbat morning service. We didn't have one last night because of the power outage, so this is my penultimate service. We have one more next week with Daphne's bat mitzvah. Anyway, we are praying out of Sidor Lev Shalem. And we begin page 103 with Birkat HaShachar, the blessings of the morning. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lesech v'vina l'vchin ben yom v'leila. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shesani b'tzomo. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shesani ben chorin. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shesani Yisrael, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Pokeach Ivrim, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Mabi Sharamim, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Matir Asurim, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Zokef Kefufim, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Rakalar Etzal Hamayim, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamechin Mitzrei Gaver, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shas Alikot Tzarki, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Oz Esra Bigvura, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Ot Esra B'tifara, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hanotein Layoef Koach, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Uteneinu hayom v'chol yom l'chein l'chesed rachamim b'necha v'erve'enei re'ena v'tigmalenu chasadim tovim. Baruch Adonai gomer chasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael. You may be seated. Page 112, Psalm 92. Hayom Yom Shabbat Kodesh, Hayom Omrim Baveit HaMikdash, Mizmor Shir Le'yom HaShabbat. Od Nidavun Beseved Shenim Chanim Yula Giki Ashananot Suri Velo Avlatabo. Page 120, Psalm 30. Mizmor Shir Chanukah Tabayit LeDavid. Hafach mispedi l'mocholi pitakti saki v'atzkani simcha l'man yizamecha v'v'loidom Adonai Elohai le'lam odeka. We rise, page 122, for Baruch She'amar. Ya ilai la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, Baruch she'amar v'haya olam, Baruch hu Baruch Hoseh V'Reishit, Baruch Hameh V'Yoseh, Baruch Gozer Umkayim, Baruch Mirachim al Haaretz, Baruch Mirachim al Habriot, Baruch Mishalem Sachar Tov L'Reyav, Baruch Hailad V'Kayam Lanetzach, Baruch Podeu Matzil, Baruch Shemo. Yai lai lai la la, ya la lai la 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 la, yai la lai lai lai, ya la lai la lai la la la, yai lai la 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 la, ya la lai la 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 la, ya la lai la la la, ya la lai lai, yai lai la la lai. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hoyle v'rachamim ha'mehula b'fiyam mishibach mefoar birshon chasidav avadav uv'shirei David avdecha nehalel lecha Adonai Eloheinu b'shvachot v'zmirot negadel lecha Yachid chel mimelech mishibach v'neshma gado baruch et Adonai melech behulal batishbachot. You may be seated. Page 136. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Od Yalalucha Selah. Tilat Adonai bar pi v'varei kabasar shem kachal ilam v'ed v'nachne nevarechya mi'ata v'yad olam. Hallelujah. Page 141, Psalm 150. Hallelujah, 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 b'kadsho, hallelujah, b'kiyauzo, hallelujah, v'gvurotav, hallelujah, karav gudlo, hallelujah, 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 beteka shofar, hallelujah, beneve v'chinor, hallelujah, betofu macho, hallelujah, b'minim v'hugav, hallelujah, 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 v'tziatz le'shama, hallelujah, v'tziatz le'trua, kol anshama tehallelujah, hallelujah, 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 kol anshama tehallelujah, hallelujah, kol anshama tehallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Le'olam Amen v'Amen. Baruch Mitzion Shchein Yerushalayim Hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Elohim Elohei Yisrael Nifla Levado. Uvaruch Shem Kavodo Lilam Melech Koretz. Amen v'amen. Page 145. Nishmat kol chai tevarech et shimecha Adonai Eloheinu. Mid melach mishvelach mi'aroch lach oel hagadol gibor v'hanora el elyon kanei shamayim va'aretz nehallel lechon shebechacha unferchem drechet shem kodeshecha kamur leDavid barchi nafshi et Adonai v'chok ravayet shem kodesho ha'el b'tazmuzecha Hagadol bechavod shemecha Hagibor lenetzach v'nomeno rotecha Hamelech hayoshev al kisei ram v'nisa Shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo V'chatuv ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai L'shirim navatihila B'fi yesharim atitalau Uvdivrei tzadikim titbarach, uvilshon chasidim titromam v'kerev kedoshim titkadash, umnakalot uvavot machobet Yisrael. Lahodahot lehaleh leshabeach, Lefer leramem la deliverek lelelo kale sal kol divrei shirot v'tishpachot David ben Yishai avdecha mishichecha yishtabach shimecha la'ad malkeinu Berachot v'hodot mi'ataviad ulam baruch et Adonai el melech batishpachot Elodot Adonai niflaot Habocher b'shirei zimara melech el cheolamim. We rise, page 149, for the call to worship the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai amavorach Baruch Adonai barach le'olam va'ed Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech olam Yotze v'rei choshech Oseh shalom Uvarei et hakol. You may be seated. Page 150. Hakol yoduch v'yakol yishabechucha. Ein kerchach Adonai Eloheinu b'olam hazeh v'yein zulon malkein l'chayei olam haba. Efes b'otakol leilamot HaMashiach v'yein to melech HaMoshienu l'tchiyat hametim. El Adon al kol ha'masim baruch umvarach b'fi kol neshama gadlo v'tuvo malei olam dat. Udvona sovavimoto Hamid Koel Chayot HaKodesh V'neder B'chavod Al Merkava Zechutu Mishar Lifnei Chiso Chesed V'rachamim Lifnei Chavodo Atovim Miyorot Shebara Eloheinu Yitzavam B'dat B'vina Uvaskehu Koach Ugvura Natan Bahem Liod Moshlim B'kerev Teiveu Meleim Zivam Afikim Noga Noe Zivam B'chol Olam Semechim B'tzeitam V'sasim B'voam Osim B'yem Aretzon Gonam Be'er V'chavod Notnim Lishmot Tzala V'china L'zecher Malchuto Kara L'shemesh V'yizracho V'hikin Suratav V'na Shevak Notnim Lo Kol Tzeva Maron Tiferet Gedula Serafim V'yofanim V'chayot HaKodesh La'ele Sheshvat Mikol Masim Bayom Hashvit Alav Yishiv Kisei Chavodo, page 152. Tiparach Moshieno Shavach Masedecha V'yamarei Shasiti Yifaru Chesila, page 153. Tiparach Sureno Malkein V'golein Berei Kedoshim. וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושת טהרה, בשירי זמרה, מברכים, שבחים, פחים, מריצים, ומקדישים וממליכים את שם אוהל המלך הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, קדוש הוא. וכולם מקבלים עליהם מלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונותנים רשות זה לזה, להקדיש לעצמם מנחת רוח, בשפה ורבנים הקדושה, כולם כחלונים ויאמרים ביראה, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלך על הארץ כבודו. ויופנים וחיות הקודש פרש כדור מנץ למצרפים למתם משבחים ויאמרים ברוך ואדוני ממקומו לאל ברוך נימות ייתנו. אור חדש על ציון דהיר ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. אור חדש על ציון דהיר ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות, page 154. Ahava Rabba Avdanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemla Gedola V'techa Chamalta Leinu Avinu Malkeinu Ba'avor Avotenu Shabbat Chuvecha Avinu Malkeinu ותלמדן חוקי חיים, כן תחננו תלמדנו, אבינו האב הרחמן, המרחם רחם עלינו, ותן בליבנו להבין ולהשכיל לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד, לשמור ולעשות, וקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה, והננו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה ויראה את שמך, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, ולא Vayvosh Leolam Voed Ki Veshem Kodshecha Hagadovanu Rabbatachnu Nagila V'nismecha Nagila V'nismecha B'shuatecha V'havienu L'shalom Me'arba Kanfot Haaretz V'tolichenu Komemiut Le'artzenu Ki el poe Yeshuatata Uvanu v'charta mikoam v'lashon v'keravtanu l'shimcha gado se'la be'emet l'hodo lecha u'yachedcha bi'ava Baruch Adonai Abocher b'yamo Yisrael b'ava Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha V'hayu hadvarim ho'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alavavecha v'hishinanetam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shachpecha v'kumecha u'kshartam liot al yadecha Vahayu latotafot beinecha uchtabdam nam zot beitecha uvisharecha vayaim shamo tishmu el mitzvotah asher anachim mitzvotachem Yerachem vayu latotfot beinecha Ki me'ashmar marz Vayomer Adonai Moshe lemor daber El bnei Yisrael v'yamarta lehem v'yasu lahem tzitzit Al kanfei vigdehem ladoratam v'natnu al tzitzit Hakana petiot achelet v'haya lachem letzitzit Uritem oto Uskatem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam V'lo tatu racharei levavchem v'yacharei nechem Asher temzonim achareihem Leman dizgaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai V'item kadoshim le'elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher otzeiti etechem me'eretz Mitzrayim leod lachem le'elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet L'dovedo kayam ushmo kayam v'chiso nachon malchut tovim menato le'ad kayamet Page 157 Udvar Emet shatahu Adonai Eloheinu v'elvatenu malkeinu melech avotenu goelenu goel avotenu yotzre netzu yeshutenu podenu matzilenu melam shemecha ein Elohim zulatecha ezrat avotenu atahu me'olam ממצרים גאלתנו אדוני אלוהינו ומבית עבדים פדיתנו כל בכוריהם הרגת ובכורך גאלת וימסו ובקת וזדים טיבעת ודידים העברת ויכסו מים צריהם אחד מהם לא נותר הזאת שיבחו אהובים ורוממו ונתנו ידידים זמירות שירות ותשפחות ברכות והודעות למלך אל חי וקיים רם ונישא גדול ונורא משפיל גאים ומגביה שפלים מוציא אסירים פוד ענבים ויעוז דלים ויען לעמו בית שב העם אליו תהילות לאל עליון ברוך וברוך משה ומרים ובני ישראל חנשירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדור בקודש נורא תהילות אוסף אלה שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים נשים חו על שפת הים יחד כולם עודו והמליכו ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל ופתחנו מכה יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני God Israel. We now continue with the Amidah. Page 159, we rise. We will stay together for the first three. Brachot to the end of the Kedusha on page 161. And then you may continue silently through page 166. Again, we begin together 159. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Yaakov v'Zocher Chastei Avot u'mevii goel levnei v'neihem l'man shemo b'yava Melech Ozer Fakir Mashiach Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Mefokei Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayim etimato Rabbi Morid atal Mechalkel Chayim Somech noflim v'rofech olim, umatir asirim, umekayem emunato, lishene afar, michamocham bal gevurot, umido melach, melech memit, umekayem, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'emanat alachayot meitim, baruch eta Adonai, mechayei hametim. Nikadesh et shimacha ba'olam, kishem shemakti shimoto mishmei maram, kakadu v'yad neviecha, v'kaka ze el ze v'yamar, kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech ha'aretz kevodo. Ahaz bekol hashkado, adi v'chazak mashmin ko, mitnasim l'matzrafim, l'matam baruch yomeru, baruch Adonai midomo. Mimekomecha malkeinu, Tofia, mimakomecha malkeinu, Tofia, v'timloch aleinu, ki mechakim anachnu lach, matai timloch b'tzion, b'kara b'yameinu, Leolam navoed tishkom tikadal v'titkadash b'toch Yerushalayim mirecha ledor v'ador u'lenetzach netzachim ve'einenu tiren malechutecha kadavar ha'amor B'shirei uzecha, al yedei David, al yedei David, Mashiach tikecha, yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohayich Sion, ledor vador, Alleluia, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid god lecha, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid god lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushat tanakdish, kedushat tanakdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu layamush, le'olam le'olam voed, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid god lecha, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid god lecha, ki omelech gado, gado v'kadosh, v'kadosh v'kadosh atah, Ki omelech gado, gado v'kadosh, v'kadosh v'kadosh atah, ledor vador, nagid god lecha, ledor vador, nagid god lecha, baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh, yismach Moshe b'malachim, ki yaveh Ose shalom bimrama, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'meru, amen. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yase shalom. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. We now will continue with our virtual Torah service. For those that are getting aliyot next week, I'm just going to go over a little bit about how the Torah service will look different next week than it does today. So the words are all the same at the beginning. When we rise, and we're on page 168, by the way. When we rise on page 168, someone will take the Torah out of the ark after we get to page 171. And we will make a procession around the synagogue with the Torah. I know this is so strange because we haven't done it in a while. I have to remind myself. And then we'll put the Torah on the ark, and then we will call 7 people for honors, of which 2 of you will come up for the sixth honor. And I'll call you each by your Hebrew name. And then you'll come up. There will be a huge font with transliteration and Hebrew, okay? I will have a pointer, that's this thing here, and I will touch the place in the Torah where we're reading from. And you either, if you're wearing a talit, you take your tzitzit, which I'll talk about in a few moments. Or if you don't, you can take the Torah has, there's a tie that it's bound with. And we take that off and we put that up here. So if you don't have a talis, you can take the tie and just use the velvet part. You touch the word where I'm pointing to, the letter, you take your tzitzit and you kiss, or the tie, and then you recite the brachot as I told you. So you will all go, and I'll do this with you, okay? We say, Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavorach, and then the congregation says, Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Le'olam Va'ed, and then you repeat that. Most people that come up for an aliyah do not know to repeat that. And I'm talking about born Jews that have been through this, still don't know to repeat this. Then you repeat, Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Then you do that small paragraph. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai noten haTorah. And then I will read from the Torah, the portion, the sixth aliyah. When I get done, you'll again take your tzitzit or the tie, you'll touch the word or the letter that it ends on, kiss, and then you say the last paragraph, which goes, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayehi olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. So I will go a lot slower than that, okay? But I guarantee you, of the 5 people that come before you, 2 of them won't repeat that second line, okay? So don't worry about it, okay? It's a little confusing because, usually when you say Baruch, you say Baruch atah, okay? This one goes Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Ved, followed by Baruch atah Adonai. So it is a little confusing, but once you've done these aliyot enough, it gets really familiar, and that's what I always tell people. If you want to learn Hebrew, if you want to learn how the service is, you come to one, and then another one, and another one, and you keep coming, okay? I grew up, I knew Hebrew, but I grew up virtually memorizing because I knew the tunes, because I heard them every week. So, and that's how you learn the tunes actually as well. Okay. So we will continue with the Torah service. And then you wait when you're finished with your aliyah. It'll be quite crowded up here, so I'm going to ask everybody kind of rotate clockwise, stand over here, and here, and here, and here, wherever. So the next person that gets called up, which will be Adina, actually, after you, because for the 7th, we'll have a place to stand here and say her bracha. Okay? Any questions? It's fine if there. I'm sorry.
Dina's not going to be one of the 2 that forgets to repeat.
Sure, she will. We're going to take bets on that? I said how many? Okay, of the 5 preceding you, at least 2 of them won't, and I'll take bets on that. It's a pretty sure bet.
It's recorded, so
Okay.
watching today.
Challenge
And some of them may be listening. I don't know. Okay, page 168. Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai v'ein kemasecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai yimloch le'olam voed Adonai oz li'amo yitein Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom avorachamim heitiva virtzoncha et Zion Tivnechomom Yerushalayim Tivnechomot Yerushalayim Kivecha levad batachnu Melech Evam Venisa Adonolamim. We rise. Vayeid and so Aaron Vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai V'yafutzu Oyevecha V'yanusu Misanecha Mipanecha Ki Mitzion Tetzei Torah Ki Mitzion Tetzei Torah Udevar Adonai Mirushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah page 170. Beyanarachet velishme kadisha yakira ana emartush pechan beyanarachet velishme kadisha yakira ana emartush pechan yairava kadamach tetitach libi biohayeta v'tashlim mishalim delibi v'liba dechol amak Yisrael letavol chayim v'lishlam. Amen. Page 171. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gablul Adonai Iti Ramim Shemo Yachdav Lecha Adonai Agedula V'Hagevura V'Hatiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahod Kicho Bashamayim Uvaretz Kicho Bashamayim Uvaretz Lecho Adonai Amamlacha V'Amid Naseh Lecho Lerosh Ramemu Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu V'Hishtachavu L'Adam Raglav Kadoshu Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu V'Hishtachavu L'Har Kadsho Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. You may be seated. So the Torah portion for this week is called Korach. I'm going to read probably the first two aliyot and translate. And I'm going to talk more about it after we put the Torah away. This comes from Numbers chapter 16, verse 1. I'm actually following the different triennial cycle just so I can read the beginning part of the portion. And it's on page 860 in your Etz Ahayem Chumash. Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Gad ben Levi v'Datan v'Aviram b'nei Eliyav on ben Pelet b'nei Reuven vayikumu lifnei Moshe v'anashim b'nei Yisrael 50 nesiei Eda Kriei Moed Anshe Shem vayikalu al Moshe v'al Aaron Vayomeru alehem rav lachem ki choleida kulam kadoshim uvtocham Adonai Madua titnaseu al kahal Adonai. Now Korach, son of Itzar, son of Kohat, son of Levi, betook himself along with Datam and Aviram, sons of Eliav, and On, son of Pelet, descendants of Reuven, to rise up against Moses together with 250 Israelites, chieftains of the community, chosen in the assembly, men of repute. They combined against Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You have gone too far. For all the community are holy, all of them, and the Lord is in their midst. Why then do you raise yourselves above the Lord's congregation?" So the book of Numbers is literally filled with stories of one word: complaint. The Israelites complain constantly. And when they finish with one, they start to complain about another. At first, they didn't have food in the desert. They went with food with them. So God provides the manna. Okay, and the manna is, we don't really know what it is. They went out in the morning. The Israelites would go out in the morning with the morning dew. I'm not sure how that works in the desert. But with the morning dew, there was this stuff that was on the dew. They said it looks like coriander seed, and they gathered it, this glob of stuff. They would cook it up, and miraculously, it became anything that they liked. So, couldn't complain about the food. It's pretty good food. It's everything you wanted. Okay? And then they complained about water. And so God had told Moses to go and hit the rock with his cane, with his rod, and for some reason he speaks to the rock instead, and God doesn't like that and forbids Moses from going into the promised land. Just for that, for that small thing that he didn't listen to God with. But then they had water, okay? And Daphne will talk about this next week. The miracle of the water is there was a well that followed them around as they traveled around the desert. And it was assumed that Miriam, the prophetess, was responsible for this miraculous appearance of water. And we know that after she died, the water disappeared. So they complained about water. And then they complained about not having enough meat. The manna was all over the place. They had enough. They could eat. They gathered 2 portions for Friday so they could have it for Shabbat as well. Anything they wanted. And yet they complained about not having meat. So God, in his infinite sense of humor, sends quail. He sends these birds out of the sky. They just drop out of the sky. There are so many quail that the Israelites start eating them, and they eat them so much it comes out of their noses. This is what the Torah says. This is God's sense of humor. When that's over, then these guys, Korach, son of Itzhar, son of Kohat, and the key part here is the son of Levi. Okay? And then it says Datan and Miran, sons of Eliab, and On, son of Pelet, descendants of Reuven. Okay. So who is Levi? One of the sons of Jacob. Okay? And from Levi comes 2 very important people, Moses and Aaron. Okay? Moses and Aaron come from the tribe of Levi. Okay? God chooses who? Moses from the tribe of Levi to be the leader, and he chooses Aaron from the tribe of Levi to assist him. And so at some point you knew it was going to happen. Some other sons of Levi who maybe Their father was born before Moses and Aaron's father. So they felt like they should be the leaders rather than Moses. So they go to Moses and they say, you have gone too far to make yourselves Lord over us. The Lord said we are a nation of priests. That means all of us. So why can't I, Korach, be leader? And he challenges him. But then we have the descendants of Reuben. Why is that significant? Because Reuben is the firstborn of Jacob. And we know, because of primogeniture, the right of the firstborn is to lead the tribe when the father dies. Okay? Reuben says, well, I should be, these descendants say we should be the leaders of the tribe because we are the descendants of Reuben. And then another 250 people join them. Various people. Okay? And they combine against Moses and Aaron. They're really, really angry. You have gone too far. For all the community are holy. God says we are all a nation of priests. All of them. The Lord is in their midst. Why then raise yourselves above the Lord's congregation? Then we get to Aliyah number 2, verse 4. Vayishma Moshe vayipol al panav vayadaber el Korach v'el kol adato lemor boker v'yodad Adonai et asher lo v'et hakadosh v'ikriv alav v'et asher yivchar bo yakriv elav Azot asum kechulachem machtot Korach v'chodato utanu v'hem eish v'simu alehem ketoret lifnei Adonai machar v'ya'ish asher yivchar Adonai hu hakadosh rav lachem B'nei Levi. When Moses heard this complaint, he fell on his face. Okay? That's a sign of contrition. It's a sign that, I am begging. Then he spoke to Korach and all his company, saying, come morning, the Lord will make known who is his and who is holy, and will grant him access to himself. He will grant access to the one he has chosen. Do this, you, Korach, and all your band, take fire pans, and tomorrow put fire in them and lay incense on them before the Lord. Then the man whom the Lord chooses, he shall be the Holy One. You have gone too far, sons of Levi. So Moses is very distressed about this. He begs Korach to relent. He gives them till the morning. They can decide, no, maybe it's not worth it. Of course, they don't relent. So he says that they're all to take fire pans. This is what the priests do when they offer sacrifice. They take these fire pans. So he's saying, well, if you're all priests like Aaron, my brother, take fire pans, and then God will choose which fire pan. He will, and of course, what happens is a bolt of lightning comes down and strikes down all of those who have the fire pan, and then the earth opens up its mouth and swallows them up. In a really interesting, it's horrifying to think about this, but yet this is what the Torah says. This is how, if you challenge Moses, if you challenge God, the earth is going to swallow you up. It is pretty awful. But it's a, but interestingly enough, Moses was chosen. He didn't want it. He didn't want the job, if you remember back at the burning bush. He didn't want it. He said, choose somebody else. I don't know how to speak. I can relate to that. And, you know, why are you choosing me? And God says he just chose him. And then he says, well, if you can't speak, I'll appoint your brother to go with you. So, yes, it's God who chose Moses and Aaron, not themselves. They didn't want the job. And here, these upstarts in the desert, they gotta complain about something. And it doesn't work out well for them. Okay, I'm not gonna go any further than that. I'll talk a little bit more about something else related to this incident. We'll now offer Mishaberach for those in and out of our community in need of a blessing for healing. Mi sheberach avutin Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Sof Garach Leah Hu Yivarech V'Rapeh Et Marjorie Allen, Charles Miller, Leon Kapwaner, Lynn Shaw, Kay Bully, Esther Scheuer, Susanna Urbala, Ruby Goldfield, Deanna Barber, Susie Bierman, Elizabeth Thomby, Betty Ehrlich, Michelle Zucker, Davina Machado, Stephen Hirschman, Taraz Bat Ruth, Marcia Hudson, Billy Canary, Taylor Browning, Efraim Avraham Ben Esther Bacha, Noah Baron, Sarah Shoshana Batnami Rivka, Yael Batnami Rivka, Gittel Tamar Bat Miriam, Kim Pruitt Spegner, and Nick Madonna. Other names, Bert, sorry.
Doug Sherrard and Bowen.
Amanda?
Julie Herring, Michelle Hernandez, as well as Cantor Yosef and
Any other names? V'yet kolachim b'kila kadusha Agudath Israel tzachei v'kilen temple Bethor kadosh bruchim alei rachamim aleihim lach zichem rabatam v'shlach leimar forshlim men hashmat nefesh v'udaguf b'tok sha'ach chulei Israel shabbatim lizo korfuah karov alava shabagalav zman kariv v'nomar amen. I wish all of those suffering a refuah shlema, a quick and complete healing. We rise to return the virtual Sefer Torah, page 183. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Ki niskav Shemo levado, Hodu Haleres Mishamayim, Vayaren Keren Le'amo, Tihila Lecho Chasida, Livnei Israel Amgrolo. Hallelujah, hallelujah, Mizmor LeDavid, Avuladonai B'nei Elim, Avuladonai Kavod Vos, Avuladonai Kavod Shemo, Ishtach Avuladonai B'Hadrat Kodesh, Kol Adonai Al Hamayim, El Kavod Hirim Adonai Omayim Rabim, Kol Adonai Bakoa, Kol Adonai Be'adar, Kol Adonai Shover Arazim, Vaishaber Adonai Etosei Halhanan, Vayarkiden Kemoed Gel, Lebanon v'Sirion kemoven re'emim, Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholeo ayalo, Vayechesam ya'arot, Uvehechalo kulo merkavot, Adonai lamabul yashav, Yeshev Adonai melech le'olam, Adonai oz li'amo yitin, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. tov natati lachem Torati al tazovu Etz Ahayem lamachazikim ba vetamchecha meushar deracheha darchenoham v'chol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva chadeshameinu k'kedem. You may be seated. The first verse of what we just read in chapter 16, I'm going to look at a particular word in that verse. It says, now Korach, son of Itzhar, son of Kohat, son of Levi, and Datan and Aviram, the sons of Eliab and On, the sons of Pelet, sons of Reuven, took men. And so, as I said before, we read about the great rebellion led by Korach and his followers against the leadership of Moses. The first verse describing this rebellion says that Korach took. Most translations, including the one above, claim that Korach took men. But the Hebrew text simply claims that Korach took. But what did he take? The Midrash, rabbinic interpretations of the Torah, gives a wonderful answer. And again, the Midrash are fanciful stories that fill in gaps. They fill in, they resolve contradictions. And here the Midrash just notes, Korach took. But it doesn't say he took men, it says took. They add the word men in the translation. So to understand the Midrash, we need to look at the last passage in the previous portion. A lot of times, the Midrash does the juxtaposition of portions. So at the beginning of a portion, if there's something strange, we always look to the last portion, the week before, at the end. Okay? So in that portion, it gives the law of the tzitzit, the fringes. Jews should put on a four-cornered garment and affix fringes on their corners to help remind us of God's commandments. Jewish men and many Jewish women keep this commandment by draping themselves in a talit or a four-cornered prayer shawl when they say the shacharit morning prayers. The law also says that the fringes must contain a thread of blue, called the patil techelet. Today, most talitot, the plural of talit, do not contain that thread of blue. Look at your own. It's all white. Because we have lost the method of making it. Some Jews claim that we have rediscovered the method, and they put on a thread of blue. And that's one of the reasons mine does have one. So when I was in Israel, we went to I guess you could call it a factory. It's a place in the desert called the Patil Techelet factory, which means the thread of blue. So apparently there was a Jewish Orthodox scientist in the late, I think it was in the late 1890s, that miraculously discovered this this little snail called the trunculus snail, which I guess can be found on the coast of Israel. And within the snail was one drop of liquid that was blue. Okay? But lots of things have dye in them. Okay? You get dye from a lot of different things, not just this snail, but all kinds of other creatures. What made this particular one, this guy determine that it was the real dye, because it had another feature to it that none of the other dyes have. And the feature was, if you expose the dye to the air, just take the dye and expose it to the sun, it turns royal purple, so it changes color. If you process the dye in darkness, okay, and then apply it to some piece of wool, okay, it retains the color blue. And the other feature is it doesn't wash off. It doesn't. There are other people who actually claim that theirs is the right, the B'tiot Techelet. Don't follow either of these other rules. So there was, so is this kosher or not? A lot of Orthodox rabbis actually gave a hechsher to this process. And when I was in Israel, I visited the B'tiot Techelet factory and actually bought a series of B'tiot Techelet strings. They're very expensive, $80 for just, and it's just basically one string. Okay, so basically what it is there's 4 long strings that go into making a tzitzit. One of them is blue, okay, and it has to be tied in a certain way. When I brought my B'tiot Techelet back to Los Angeles, there was a woman in my congregation of Agudath in the valley whose, I don't know if it was her father, grandfather, was a Torah scholar. She had a tradition of tying B'tiot Techelet into any rabbinical student that happened to be in that congregation that was going to be ordained. So, and she said, I was going to be the last one, because it's kind of time consuming to do this. So she tied them, and I felt really honored by that, okay? But that's why not everybody has them. They're very expensive. I own 2 talit, and I have them. Some people wear a talit katan under their clothes. Okay, so you'll see Jews that go around, they have the tzitzit hanging out their undershirts. And a lot of people are now putting them in them. I can't imagine how expensive that is to do that. So, but in Moses' time, every talit had a thread of blue. So at some point, we lost the process along the way. And that's why yours are all white. So this brings us to what Korach took. He took a talit made entirely of blue threads. In Hebrew, talit, shekula techelet. However, he did not put fringes with a thread of blue on the corners. Wearing this garment, Korach confronted Moses. Tell me, Moses, if I wear a garment made entirely of blue threads, do I still need to have a thread of blue on the corners? I'm not sure how you would distinguish that. Of course, said Moses. Korach mocked Moses. How ridiculous are your laws? One thread of blue in the corner makes it kosher. But if it is filled with threads of blue, it is not kosher. Then Korach continued his confrontation with Moses. Does a room filled with scrolls of the Torah require a mezuzah on the door? And of course, we know the mezuzah is something we put on the front doors of our homes. It's a small case with parchments containing the first two paragraphs of the Shema from the Torah. The Jewish tradition requires this to be put on doors. Of course, said Moses. Korach again mocked Moses. How ridiculous are your laws? One little case containing a few verses on a door is kosher, but a room filled with scrolls of the law are not kosher. And so the confrontation continued. Of course, this is very fanciful, okay? The idea that we put mezuzot on doors didn't exist in Moses' time, okay? That came later, okay? So why did the rabbis of the Midrash bring this imaginary conversation? Korach was not having a serious debate about Jewish law. He was simply picking an argument to put Moses in his place. He was jealous of Moses' position as leader and lawgiver for the people. He was a member of the tribe of Levi, Moses' tribe, and therefore felt that the leadership role should go to him. He could care less whether a talit of blue threads requires fringes or whether a room filled of Torah scrolls requires a mezuzah. He only cared about starting an argument for the sake of the argument. So let us take a look at arguments, whether at a synagogue board meeting, oh, they're fun, an office get-together, or the family dinner table. Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our forefathers, says it's a book. It has 6 chapters, and we read as aphorisms by rabbis of the Talmud. So Pirkei Avot said there are 2 types of arguments. The first are arguments for the sake of heaven. These arguments are meant to endure, for they serve a greater purpose. Avot mentions the early Talmudic arguments between the schools of Shammai and the school of Hillel. This probably could be expanded to all the arguments that fill nearly every page of the Talmud. Rabbis love to argue, Jews love to argue, but their argument served an ultimate purpose, to ascertain God's will. They are literally arguments for the sake of heaven. The passage continues, mentioning arguments not for the sake of heaven. These will not endure. Their particular argument not for the sake of heaven is the confrontation between Moses and Korach. It is not really an argument, it is a power play. Perhaps that is a warning here. We all become entangled in arguments. But are they arguments for the sake of heaven, or are they power plays? If we find ourselves in the middle of an argument with someone who is simply trying to exert their power, wisdom seems to say, walk away. Remember the ending of Korach's argument, not for the sake of heaven. Korach was swallowed up by the earth. There is a tradition that there exists a crack in the earth somewhere in the Sinai desert, and if you put your ear to the ground, you can hear the words, Moses was right, and I was wrong. Shabbat Shalom. We'll now continue our service with Musaf. So we turn to page 185. We rise. And again, we'll chant the first 3 brachot together through the end of the Kedusha, page 187. And then you may continue through page 192. Again, we begin together, page 185. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומר חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו ויאהבה. מלך עוזר, פקד ומשיח ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן ארם ופקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים התורה בהושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסירים, ומקיים אמונתו לשדי עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. נעריצך ונקדישך, כסוד שיח שרפי קודש, המקדישים שמך בקודש, כך כתוב ביד נביאך, וככה זה אל זה ויאמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך על הארץ כבודו. כבודו מלא עולם, משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, היה מקום כבודו. נעמתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקום עפו יפה ברחמים, ויחונם יחדים שמו ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד. פעמיים באהבה שמע אומרים, שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו, הוא ישמע ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושך תנקדיש, ושיבחך מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך קדוש וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוי לקדוש. page 204. Enke Eloheinu, Enke Adonenu, Enke Malkeinu, Enke Moshienu, Enke Eloheinu, Enke Adonenu, Enke Malkeinu, Enke Moshienu, Mich Eloheinu, Mich Adonenu, Mich Adonai Malkeinu, Mich Moshienu, Enke Eloheinu, Enke Adonenu, Enke Malkeinu, Enke Moshienu, Nodeh Eloheinu, Nodeh Adonenu, Nodeh Lemokenu, Nodeh Lemoshienu, Enke Eloheinu, Enke Adonenu, Enke Malkeinu, Enke Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Enke Eloheinu, Enke Adonenu, Enke Malkeinu, Enke Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Enke Eloheinu, Enke Adonenu, Enke Malkeinu, Enke Moshienu, Atahu Shektichu Avoteinu lefanecha et ketoret hasamim, Enke Eloheinu, Enke Adonenu, Enke Malkeinu, Enke Moshienu. We rise. Page 205 for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach Adon l'akol l'teit gdula liotzer b'rishit shalo esana k'goyei aratzot v'lo samanu k'mishmachot ha'adama shalo sam chelkeinu kahem v'goraleinu k'chol hamonam v'anachnu korim ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ושמקרוב בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגבי מי הוא אלוהינו אינו Emet Mokeinu Evazulato Kakatu Betorato Viadat Ayom Hashivota Elavacha Ki Adonai Elohim Bashamayim Mimah Viala Aretz Mitachat Gagadu b'doratech Adonai imloch le'olam bo'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz bayom ma'hu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You may be seated. This week we will observe yahrzeits for Larry Allen, Kate Kessler, Sadie Shapiro, Sophie A. Kulik, Albert Freeling, Tilly Goodman, Manuel Held, Esther Capuano, Vasily Medvedev, Solomon Rubin, and Susanna Varon. Those observing yahrzeit and those who mourn, please rise. Join me, page 207, for the Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, b'yoma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayedechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'maru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam olmel maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudisha b'richu Leilamin kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran b'yomav v'maru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'maru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'maru amen. You may be seated. Thank you so much for joining me this morning for Shabbat. There is Havdalah tonight at 8:30 via Zoom. I'm not producing it. It's being produced by Cantor Barron. So hopefully those on the old list got the Zoom link. I hope you did. But that's tonight at 8:30 p.m. And if you're not on the list and like to get on the list, you need to email Cantor Barron. If you don't have it, I can give it to you. Let's see. This enters my last week of actual duties here. So Monday and Thursday will be my last Monday and Thursday services, 7:15 with breakfast following. Next Friday night will be my last Friday night, and of course a week from today. Not only will it be my last Shabbat, but it also is Daphne's bat mitzvah. So I welcome all of you to come and enjoy the festivities, which will last the whole day. And I have my entire family here, or will have, and so it should be a lot of fun. Next Saturday should be a lot of fun. And then I think there's going to be a retirement dinner on the 26th, which you're all invited to come to as well. That's a Friday night. That's the first Shabbat that Rabbi Zari will be here. So come for the newness and the oldness and the good food. And with that, we'll go ahead and complete our service, page 211. Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra azai melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol leva Ado yimloch nora, v'hu haya, v'hu oveh, v'hu yiyeh b'tifara, v'hu yiyeh b'tifara, v'hu echad v'ein sheni, lam shelo lehachbira, b'li reshit, b'li tachlit, v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra, V'lo v'amisra v'hu eli v'chai go'ali v'tzor chevli b'yetzara v'hu nisi umanosli minat kosi b'yom mekra minat kosi b'yom mekra b'yado avkid ruchi b'yet ishan v'yaira V'yimaruchi geviati Adonai li v'lo ira Adonai li v'lo ira Shabbat Shalom.